CNN went to a QAnon rally dubbed Save the Children in Los Angeles. Luckily, it was a tiny rally, but it was a tiny rally full of lunatics. Watch.
Talk about it. Why aren't you talking about it? Why are we not talking about all the kids that are going missing? Why? That makes me question you.
Scotty the Kid, a singer and activist, has been organizing these protests in Hollywood. Much like how they've co-opted the name Save the Children, they have also seized on and are distracting from the very real and serious issue of missing and exploited children. Much of their focus instead is on conspiracy theories about Hollywood stars and Democrats.
Do you follow QAnon? The FBI says it's a dangerous conspiracy theory.
Do I follow? No, I don't follow QAnon. I follow the missing children. I have a child right now in Ohio that my team is saving. That's what I want to talk about. Not a conspiracy.
You posted about QAnon yesterday, right? On your Instagram story?
What are you doing in Los Angeles, bro? Why don't you go take care of your kid in Ohio if you care about your child so much? I mean, anyway, lunatics, absolute lunatics. And QAnon is basically a group of people who accuse their political opponents of being pedophiles. That's what QAnon is. Now, some people who might be well-meaning got sucked into this through social media because of the, seemingly innocent hashtags QAnon conspiracy theorists use on social media to bring people in. They've increased the points of entry so people who are maybe unaware of what QAnon is really about get sucked in when they see a hashtag like Save the Children. Like, who doesn't want to save the children? But at the core of this, and this is why it's so dangerous, you have absolute malice, ill intent, people who are just trying to smear political opponents, people they disagree with. And then you have individuals who are, I think in some cases, mentally ill, literally trying to carry out acts of violence in order to save the children. That's what happened with the Comet Pizza case in Washington, D.C. But we have other insane statements from lunatics who went to this rally, including accusations against Tom Hanks of all people. Before we get to that, Cenk, jump in.
Yeah, so I remember when this started as an alt-right strategy, and we covered on the show. It was some people in the alt-right, who I don't want to name, who came up with the idea, why don't we just call our political opponents child molesters? And I shared with you guys at the time a post by that person saying, it doesn't matter if it's true or not true. It'll just show up first on their Google search and it'll ruin their lives. It's a great political strategy. Well, it's now been adopted by the Republican Party, and they're doing it in mass. It's not just one person, they're targeting all Democrats, all people in charge in the government, etc. And they're calling all of them child molesters. All the way from leading Democrats to Dr. Fauci, to Tom Hanks. Okay, and so CNN also interviewed Frederick Brennan, who is the founder of 8chan, and he made a couple points I had not thought of. First of all, I thought the QAnon was just, like, I knew that it was a little connected to the people who were pushing the child molester stuff, but I didn't know that they were using the child molester stuff as a gateway for people who are good people, who are worried that children are being kidnapped, which does happen, right? There are real child molesters. We're gonna show you one a little bit later, and people who support them, we're gonna show you, and some people are in government, we'll show you that as well, okay? So those are facts that we'll get to in a second. But overall, the idea that it's a cabal, by the way, they also say they're satanic cult and cannibals. So you start with, hey, aren't you worried about child molesters? Everybody goes, yeah, I'm worried about it. Well, come a little further, come a little further. Oh yeah, and then you know that they're also cannibals, and you know that they're worshiping Satan, and you know they're all Democrats. Oh my God, right? So that's how a lot of this got started. And by the way, Frederick Brennan now has denounced what started on 8chan, etc. But I tell you all this because to this day, a lot of people don't understand that all of this is driven by the original alt-right scheme to smear political opponents with the most toxic charge that they could think of, which is child molestation. It's true, that is the most toxic, and now they're just doing it to all of their political opponents.
And also including random celebrities on that list as well, like Tom Hanks. Watch.
What's going on with Tom Hanks?
So you guys just want me to explain everything today, huh? Dude, it's all suspicion. That's suspicion.
How do you know that Tom Hanks has
How do you
anything to do
not
with this?
know? You're
Proving it
reporting a
negative.
non-fact because
How do
you
you
don't
prove
know
it
the
negative?
information. You're saying it's
But
a
neither-
fact that they're not.
But neither do you.
We're in an impasse then because we're reporting literally the same thing.
But neither do you. But you have him on your sign. You're calling him a pedophile.
Yes.
But you don't know that for a
How did they get to that position of power?
Okay, great. So I'm gonna go ahead and speculate that that bearded man in the video is a pedophile. I mean, there's no proof that he isn't a pedophile. You see how that works? It's a gross type of society to live in, where you can just run around accusing people of the most hideous, disgusting crimes imaginable with no evidence whatsoever. Is this like a uniquely American thing, Cenk? Like, when did Americans become like this? Like, I know they're not representative of the majority of Americans, but this is now a growing movement and a pretty clear representation of what the Republican Party has become.
Yeah, so there's two reasons why this is happening, but it is, look, I don't know what happens in all the other countries, and obviously some are led by right-wing despots at this point, but I've never seen America get this toxic, and it's just sludge, man. And so look, here's another aspect of how toxic it is. So when you say, hey, I don't think Tom Hanks is a pedophile, or I don't think Netflix is part of a cannibalistic cult to molest children, they then blame you. They go, how dare you call us crazy? I guess then you're part of the child molesters. So if you have a Netflix account, apparently you're part of the child molesters. Like, they literally believe that, and they will go around smearing it. But if that happens on Facebook to you, for example, how do you go around and explain to everyone you know, no, I just have a Netflix subscription, I didn't do anything. I like Tom Hanks in Big, I didn't do anything, right? But once the witch hunt starts, and which is so ironic, because the right wing and some portions of the left wing, about any investigation of Russia and Trump connections, they're like, witch hunt, poor beloved Putin, poor beloved Trump, how could you do a witch hunt on him? Meanwhile, they're like, Tom Hanks, Netflix, whoever else, Fauci, child molesters, what? You think I'm crazy for saying that? You're a child molester, that's a witch hunt, that's a witch hunt. Okay, they're in the middle of doing it now. So when you saw that guy, he said, how do you not know? What does that mean? How do you not know that Tom Hanks is a molester? What does how do you not know mean? And then he says, well, if you think he isn't, and I think he is, and neither one of us has evidence because I made it up. He said, we're at an impasse. No, we're not at an impasse. You can't call someone a child molester unless you have really good evidence. That used to be common decency. Now, well, I call him one because I don't like him, and you say he isn't because there isn't any evidence. We're at an impasse. We'll have to call it 50-50 on whether Tom Hanks is a child molester. Look, guys, can you not, I hope everybody in the audience is understanding how deeply mental that is. So finally, let me get to why did they get to this state where there is some percentage of the country now that has absolutely, positively lost their minds? Well, two reasons. One, I had not considered earlier, and that's, again, I go back to Brennan, the guy who set up 8chan. He explained something I hadn't thought of. He said the reason QAnon rose up was because they were so frustrated. I said, that's interesting. What do you mean frustrated? He said they were frustrated because they thought Trump was gonna do all the things that he said, right? Oh, he was gonna kick out all the immigrants. He was gonna go after all their enemies, all the people they don't like, the foreigners, the others, right? But Trump didn't do any of that. Now, Brennan didn't say this, but I'll add this. Trump only did one thing, one major legislative accomplishment, a $2 trillion tax cut for the rich. So the rich got everything, and all of Trump's actual supporters and voters got nothing. So they had to make up a theory as to why. Because Trump is not really in charge of the government, even though he's the president. The deep state is. And the deep state is a cabal of Tom Hanks, Fauci, and other dudes who are all cannibal child molesters. And that explains it. Otherwise, Trump would have done all the things that he promised in his campaign. Now, what's the second reason? And this is just me. I think it's the mainstream media. And so they'll be absolutely outraged by this, right? How could you say it's our fault? It's your fault because you keep telling Trump supporters and Democrats and progressives and conservatives that politicians are decent and honorable people. Right now, if you're in the mainstream media and you're watching this, you're already triple outraged now. Of course they are. This is what coarsens our conversation and our politics. You have to say how honorable and wonderful these politicians are. No, you don't. You're doing that to kiss their ass and to get access to them and to pretend that everything is even so Democrats and Republicans will watch your shows. The reality is, no. When politicians take millions of dollars from donors, they are corrupt. Those are bribes. Now, if you want to know what the real conspiracy is, it's out in the open. No one denies it. The people running the country is not George Soros, although partly, I'll get to that in a second too. It's not Tom Hanks, it's not Fauci, it's not the deep state. No, it's the donor class. And if Soros is part of the donor class, in a sense, he's part of that. He doesn't have any special powers. He's just part of what you could see right. In fact, you know who wants to take Soros's money and everybody else's money out of politics? Progressives do. And so if you're worried about conspiracies to control the government, the conspiracy is the most obvious one in the world. But since the media doesn't report on the obvious bribery going on in front of everybody, then it leads to people losing their minds and going, well, I know they're lying. And I know $1 million is a bribe. I know $10 million is a bribe to a politician. And I know those politicians do exactly what they're bribed to do. So since the media is fake news and they're lying about it, it must be some alternate explanation. Soros, a dragon, or Tom Hanks. That's what happened.
Yeah, look, I just think that these are people who exist in their own little internet bubble where it's an echo chamber. That's the way algorithms are set up. If they're reading QAnon conspiracy theories, if they're following the Save the Children hashtag, these algorithms are set up to serve them more of this type of content, and they become radicalized to the content they're consuming. So I think it's a mix of everything that was mentioned during this segment, to be honest.
Okay, and finally, I did promise you someone in the government who's supporting a child molester. In fact, the best known child molester in the country. That can't be true, is it? Well, let's watch the tape and find out.
Do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well.
That is in reference to Ghislaine Maxwell, the co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein. She is currently in prison, and Donald Trump wished her well twice there. And in a follow-up interview, when challenged on it, a softball. Easy to say, and it was by a friendly reporter. Easy to say, oh no, I don't wish her well. She's literally the best known child molester, according to the accusations by the government, in the whole country. So of course I don't wish her well. Nope, in that interview, he wished her well again. You know why? Because he's partied with her and he's her friend. So QAnon, if you're looking for a high-ranking government official who is friends with and supports child molesters, ding, 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 we have a winner. It's your buddy, Donald Trump. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.